In this video, I'm going to tell you how to get through extreme hunger during recovery. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out my resources below. If you want to speak with me, there is also a link in the box. I hear a lot of stories about extreme hunger during recovery, and this extreme hunger can derail recovery sometimes. Personally, I never dealt with extreme hunger. I guess I'm fortunate in that regard. Other than the typical sensation of hunger, I never had extreme hunger to the point where I just had to eat massive volumes of food. The only time I ever ate a massive volume of food is when I had the desire to do it. It was never based on physiological hunger. But some of you are dealing with extreme hunger. So how do you deal with it without binging and without disrupting your recovery? Listen up. The first thing is there is never a good reason to binge. I've said this before, it's never a legitimate behavior. Unless you are on the brink of starvation and you haven't eaten in days, maybe weeks, there's no good reason to do it. If you feel like your body is telling you to binge, don't do it. You're only going to reinforce that cycle. I know you should honor your hunger and you should listen to your body, but binging isn't going to get you anywhere. It's never a good idea. It only reinforces the cycle. You can't break a habit, you can't break a cycle by doing more of it. I would argue the more times you binge in response to extreme hunger, the more extreme hunger you're going to have. The problem with binge eaters and bulimics is that they're so used to these massive volumes of food that it's like nothing else will satisfy. When they come back to normal eating, when they come back to reasonable portions, it's almost like a disappointment. It's like you're up here and now you have to live down here and there's this gap. And it might seem natural to satisfy that hunger with a massive meal, but something tells me you don't really need that. Distinguish between need and want. And speaking of cycles, you need to break that cycle first. And you can't break the cycle if you respond to extreme hunger with a massive binge or a massive amount of food. I'm not saying you should never have a big meal. If that's what your appetite is demanding, then go for it. Eat something nutritious and eat something healthy. But don't go all in just because you think that's what you need. I highly doubt that you ever need to binge on a ton of junk food. Focus on breaking the cycle. And if you have to tolerate a little bit of hunger in order to break that cycle, I say go for it. I guess this leads me to my third point, is that tolerating hunger is okay sometimes. We are designed to be hungry. We are not designed to be constantly fed. More research is showing that periods of fasting or abstaining from food is actually really good for us. Should you do that during recovery? Probably not. But you shouldn't avoid hunger either. Hunger might be uncomfortable, but that's part of life. Part of life is being uncomfortable. Only in the last 100 years has it been possible to feed ourselves consistently. And being hungry is actually okay once in a while, because when you're hungry, then you know it's time to eat. You're eating for physiological reasons. Eating for physiological reasons is a really good thing. The problem with disordered eaters is that too often they eat for every reason except hunger. Eating in response to hunger is a really good thing, and it's a sign of recovery. Keep it up. I've talked about intermittent fasting in previous videos, and I'll talk about it again in future videos. Don't take fasting too far during your recovery. My next tip is if you are really hungry and you feel like you need to eat a lot, eat something that is high in protein, high in fiber, high in water content, low in sugar, and low in oil. Your initial response should not be to grab a bag of chips. That's probably the worst thing you should do. I think a potato is the perfect thing to eat when you're hungry. It has fiber, it has water, it has nutrients, and it has a large amount of volume. You want foods that have a large volume. You don't want foods that have a high caloric density. Sweet potatoes versus sweet potato fries. Get the difference? Don't grab anything that's in a box or a bag. That's a really bad thing because you can easily overdo that. Fruits and vegetables are the best thing to eat when you have extreme hunger. You might think that you have a ravenous appetite. Probably not. Your appetite isn't much different from anybody else's. Unless you have a rare genetic disorder, your appetite is fine. Your hypothalamus is fine, your brain is fine, you don't have a disease. The thing is, you're so used to these large volumes that reasonable volumes, normal volumes, seem unsatisfying. Trust me, you will adapt to it. But there is that initial period where you go from here to here, and it seems like there's a gap. My next tip for you is to make sure you're eating enough during the day. This doesn't mean that you have to eat every 3 hours and have a meal every 4 hours and have to have snacks with you at all times. You shouldn't make eating your #1 priority all the time. In fact, I find that to be really obnoxious and really annoying. When you're on the go and you're doing things, do you really want to have to stop and eat something? I used to do this in my early 20s, and I've told this story before, but I would carry a cooler around the college campus like an idiot I didn't need to do that. I could have gone several hours longer without eating anything, and I would have been okay. I didn't need to spend 1 or 2 hours a day preparing snacks so that I would have something to eat at all times. Your body will not catabolize itself. Your body is designed to go extended periods without eating. Just make sure you're having reasonable quantities. How much is a reasonable quantity? I don't know, that depends on you, but you know it when you see it. If all you're having is a few sticks of celery and some baby carrots, you know that's not enough. And no, coffee and diet soda don't count as meals. Even if it's something as simple as a protein bar, or just some nuts, or a banana or two, that might satiate you for 2 or 3 hours. Enough time to live and do what you need to do until you can sit down and have a real meal. It is not realistic to have 3 Instagram-worthy meals every day. We have lives to live, we have people to meet, we have places to go. We cannot always stop and eat something. I sure hope that your meal plan is not the most important thing in your life. Speaking of meal plans, you don't have to have the perfect meal plan in order to recover. I don't recommend going all day without eating, like 1 meal a day. You can do that in the future once you have established a consistent routine, but you don't need to stop every 2 or 3 hours to eat something. And my last tip for you is to eat all food groups. When I say food groups, I mean all macronutrients and all the major food groups that you see on the pyramid or the plate. I think it's a plate now. That means dairy, that means grains and starches, that means fruits and vegetables, that means nuts, that means a little bit of sweets if you choose. And it also means meat. I think one of the best things I did as part of my recovery is that I rejected all diets. I didn't do vegan, I didn't do keto, I didn't do Atkins, I didn't do South Beach, I didn't do alkaline, I didn't do blood type or the million other diets out there. I just ate simple whole foods from every single food group. I think people would be much better off if they did that. Every food group offers something different. There's stuff in meat that you can't get in vegetables. There's stuff in vegetables that you can't get in meat. There's stuff in nuts and whole grains that you can't get in the other food groups. Everything complements itself. If you want to do keto or vegan later, fine, but I would do that after you are well recovered. Do you have extreme hunger? Let me know in the comments below. Hope you found this video educational and entertaining. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my resources below. If you liked this video, I'm sure you'll like one of the other videos that you see on the screen. Click one of them and I'll see you there.